Australia and EU. There are a number of different ideas that came out of the workshop today. One of them was about building on the concept of recognition for people in research, was to think about mechanisms for evaluating the strength of teams that are involved in a research initiative or project. And not just looking at the chief investigator, but looking at the human and information technology infrastructure that supports the project, and looking to award funding or initiatives to those groups who not only have the research expertise to drive it, but also have the underlying expertise in statistics and data management and coding and so forth, in order to bring the project to a successful conclusion. And I think a second area where there's a good opportunity that I guess kind of builds on common interests and shared interests between the two countries is about looking at the question of reproducible research and the ethics that go with ensuring that research is performed in a way that it can be validated and reproduced and is therefore robust, and where there can be a high degree of confidence in the outcome of the research.
The same, really. I think the opportunity of the European Open Science Cloud is very high, but it needs to be shaped as well. So it could be that we simply look for opportunities and we explore them and do useful things. If we're doing it really well, we'll be asking the deeper question of, well, how do we get the maximum value of the infrastructure investments of the two jurisdictions, and look at government-to-government relationship, funder-to-funder relationship. At the moment, we've got a lot of enthusiasm, and it's more a question of aligning that enthusiasm to deliver even more value. Well, in terms of the infrastructure overlap, I think everybody's talking about data and everybody's talking about AI, and a lot of people are talking about cloud. And in some ways, the ABC of AI, data and cloud are most powerful when they're actually thought about together. And for me, really thinking about those different elements where we complement each other. So for example, I think what is being intended in the European Open Science Cloud is ahead of the current intention in Australia, but on the other hand, I think we've got a good track record of actually delivering in that context, so marrying those things together. I think, for example, there's a huge opportunity in what is being described as data marketplaces, a place where you can come to meet researchers, education, industry, community, on sharing data and coming up with protocols that enable the potential power of AI to be harnessed, but will only be harnessed if there's very high quality data availability and data integration.
So I guess I would like to see a much more globally integrated research infrastructure. So that may entail some services or data being based in Australia or in Europe or indeed the US, or in the cloud, commercial clouds as well. So I think it's a rapidly changing area and pretty interesting times. That's a good question. I think here, and this is, I guess, from an Australian perspective, we have a lot of the tools and infrastructure here, but they're still fairly fragmented. I think better integration of all of these tools both here, and that's at an institutional level, at a state level and a national level, with resources at an international level. That's the challenge, I real, just integrating all of these.
Europe and Australia have a close ties in different politics and trade agreements and in overall about the cultural engagement. When it gets to research, Europe is also have a lot of partnership between different universities. When it gets from the universities in UK or Germany or Switzerland, that they work with universities in Australia. a lot of these projects are separately funded and are even governed separately through different engagements. However, it will be good in future we can have a more closer collaboration in this space where we can have actually joint funded projects and joint collaborative efforts when these countries actually not only align small projects but also larger, more nationally significant projects together.
A large part of my work has been involved in with the climate community. I first got involved in developing eResearch infrastructure about 5 years ago when I worked at the Bureau of Meteorology. And in that work, we were developing what's called the Climate and Weather Science Lab, which has brought together a lot of international networks with the Earth System Grid Federation and building new capabilities to enable the Australian research community to all work together on a common platform.
What I'd like to see the grand challenges and the grand societal challenges being addressed, like food security or climate change, or which might be more of a politically sensible issue, but still, I'd like to see grand challenges being addressed. I wouldn't like to see a research focusing very much on specific technologies in themselves. The technology should be there to actually solve a problem that is a real problem.